Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my review of Fire Emblem 13 Awakening. FE13 was released in Japan in 2012 and was released worldwide in 2013 and beyond. Fire Emblem 13 was under development as if it would be the last game made in the series, as FE11 and FE12, remakes of the first and third game respectively, were not successful, and Nintendo gave Intelligent Systems an ultimatum. If the next entry in the franchise did not sell well, Intelligent Systems would have to quit making Fire Emblem games altogether. As history would tell us, Fire Emblem 13 would be a massive success, and is credited with saving the franchise. But in retrospect, how good was Awakening? As far as the story goes, Chrom is the brother to the current Exalt of the Kingdom of Ylisse, Emerin. Chrom leads a group of mercenaries that help solve problems in the area. One day, Chrom and his younger sister Lissa come across the Avatar, an amnesiac tactician with incredible ability, lying in the field. They take him in, and soon after, events occur in the continent that eventually lead to war, as well as the attempted revival of the fell dragon Grima, who is capable of destroying the entire world. The story is split into 3 arcs. The first deals with the war between Ylisse and Plagia, 2 nations on the same continent. The second deals with an aggressive nation on a western continent, the Kingdom of Valm. The third and final arc reveals the Avatar's origins and also deals with the fight against the fell dragon Grima. The story here isn't as good as I would have hoped, as the villains just felt as though they were written as evil for the sake of being evil, and lack the character and motivation that previous antagonists had. The characters were interesting, though many are one-note and quirky, and don't undergo as much development, and aren't as well written as other supporting characters in series past. But I still had fun with the story, it just wasn't as refined and well written as it could have been. As far as the gameplay concerned, this is where everything just falls apart. The series formula returns, although with less restrictions. Weapons no longer have weight, so no weapon is too heavy for any class. Forging is the same as in the Telia series and Shadow Dragon, only now you can do it as many times as you'd like per chapter. New is the second seal, which can change the class of any unit at any level above 10 and can turn them into a level 1 base class unit. It can also reclass a unit as a level 1 advanced class unit if the unit is of an advanced class and is level 10 or above. In addition, the map design is very lackluster, as most of the levels are boring, plain open spaces. For some reason, enemy reinforcements coming at the end of the player phase returns from Binding Blade, a feature I absolutely detested. On higher difficulty, these reinforcements come in larger numbers and more often, so it just feels like a cheaper way of making the game more difficult rather than actually involving more strategy. Magic is broken in the game. The child units, especially if reclassed, are broken as all hell due to high growth rates across the board. This is made worse by the world map, giving access to unlimited weapons, money, and experience. Overall, the gameplay is by far the most broken in the entire series, lacking any restraint or restriction. The visuals are mixed. The battle animations are as bad as they've ever been, with very lackluster animations, and the critical animations have gotten to the point where they're so bland and unnoticeable. The only thing that makes them noteworthy are the critical hit quotes, which is a new thing they introduced, but the animations were sacrificed in the process of some honestly very cool and good critical hit quotes. Some of the CG cutscenes though looked amazing, especially with the 3D feature on the 3DS turned on. The game overall, as well as the character designs, including the map and just the overall aesthetic of the game, are very appealing, although again, the 3D models not having feet does kind of get in the way a bit of the visuals and kind of detracts from it just a little bit. But overall, again, I think it's a very vibrant and colorful game, and it looks nice overall. The music, while great, is not the best in the series at this point. Personally speaking, it is beat by Fire Emblem Path of Radiance in my opinion. It is still a great soundtrack, and it definitely has a lot of good music, and it definitely took the series in the right direction for what would be in the next installment easily the best soundtrack in the series in Fire Emblem Fates. But for now, this is a great soundtrack. It's just that there are a good number of notable songs, but there are also a lot of songs that just kind of blend together and aren't really that noticeable. For the final verdict, if you've been following along with this review, I have not held back in my criticism of the game. A lot of people, played this game as their first in the series, and so they hold the game in high regard. And the part of that is, of course, due to nostalgia. Other parts due to the fact that the game is purely built for fun. The story isn't anything too serious. Again, the villains are evil for the sake of being evil. They don't really have much in the way of motivation and character. In the gameplay, there's no restrictions on the gameplay. There is a lot of Easter eggs in the game as well, and overall, you can really tell that Intelligent Systems truly thought this would be the last Fire Emblem game they would ever make, and so they sought to make the game as fun as possible. And I think the reason why they did this was because they thought that they had been trying to be too classic Fire Emblem for a while, and it wasn't attracting a wider audience. And so they had to let the game go and have it be more about just having fun rather than true strategy to get more people into the series. And it worked. So with that in mind, despite how broken the game is, and how one-note the characters can be, and how dull and boring the villains can be, I understand that this was all in the goal of making the game fun, and as a result, I give the game a pass for those faults, because the game is fun. I enjoyed the game a lot. Now, I played the game on the hard difficulty to start, and the whole enemy reinforcements coming in at the end of your turn was definitely a cheap mechanic, and you can tell that was their way of just artificially increasing the difficulty, which again, I did not like at all. But the game saved the franchise. Whether we like it or not, it's because of how well this game did that we would get Fates, that we got the remake of Fire Emblem Gaiden, Fire Emblem Shadows of Valentia Echoes, and potentially another remake in the future after Fire Emblem on the Switch, as well as Fire Emblem Warriors. And for that, I gave this game a lot of credit. And overall, I would recommend the game to really anyone. Now, specifically, if you're coming off of a harder Fire Emblem game, like maybe you're coming off of Radiant Dawn or Fire Emblem 5, or even Binding Blade, that's definitely not a bad time to play the game, because it's just a fun game and you're just able to enjoy the game for what it is. And it doesn't take itself too seriously, at least. So, it is a good game, by no means perfect. In fact, it's very flawed and shattered. But it's still a fun game, and it's still a good entry in the franchise. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this video, and next time will be my last Fire Emblem review, for now at least. It will be a review of the game where the prince is split between two kingdoms, and is forced to make a choice between those two kingdoms. Fire Emblem Fates. Thank you for watching this review, and I'll see you guys next time.